Good morning, dear learners. Welcome to teaching learning session of sociology. Today we will discuss an eminent Indian sociologist, that is Dhurjati Prasad Mukerji. D.P. Mukherjee. D.P. Mukherjee was a Marxist who analyzed Indian history in terms of dialectical process. We know about the dialectical process. Hegel has given this theory of dialectism, and Marx was influenced by Hegel, and he used this theory of Hegel theory of dialects of Hegel to explain historical materialism, and in terms of materialism, how society evolved from one society to another society. And similarly, D.P. Mukherjee was influenced by the Marx, and he tried to analyze the Indian history in terms of dialectical process. Tradition and modernity, colonialism and nationalism, individualism and collectivism could be seen as the dialectically interacting with each other, right? That how society evolved from one form to another, like tradition and modernity, then colonialism, then nationalism, and then individualism, and then the collectivism. These could be seen as dialectically interacting with each other. Dhurjati Prasad Mukerji was born in 1984 in a middle-class Brahmin family of Bengal. It was during this period that the literary influence of Rabindranath Tagore, Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, Sarat Chand Chatterjee was at its peak. There was a renaissance of Bengali literature at this time. It was a period when it was a period of Rabindranath Tagore, Bankim Chandra, and Sarat Chandra Chatterjee. It was a period of renaissance of Bengali literature, and D.P. Mukherjee was influenced by all these. D.P. Mukherjee did his graduation from Bangbasi College, Bengal. Firstly, he was a student of history, which included economics at that time. Then he took a degree of economics. He did not confine to the boundary of a particular discipline. Although he completed his graduation from Bengal, right, he was a student of history, right, and this included the economics, but he was not confined himself to a single degree, boundaries of a particular discipline. It was perhaps for this reason that he became a sociologist. History, which includes economics, then he became a sociologist. As sociology is the most comprehensive social science. We know that sociology is the most comprehensive social sciences, right? He attained not only national but international fame as a sociologist. In 1922, he joined the Lucknow University as a lecturer in economics and sociology. D.P. Mukherjee always thought that the ideas of Karl Marx were relevant in India when adapted to condition of Indian history and traditions, right? As he was influenced by the Marx, right? So he felt like that the thoughts of or the ideas of Karl Marx are relevant for the Indian society, right? When these are adapted to the Indian conditions of history and tradition. He always emphasized the study of social processes and social movements. He was born in golden age of criticism and reflected this age in the true sense of his own work. To every subject, he brought critical criteria from as many fields as possible. He had a faculty of looking at every problem from a new angle. He was an art critic, music critic, drama critic, and critic of life. In him, we find a blend of Anglo-Bengali culture. The time when he was born, or when he became at the time of D.P. Mukherjee, it was a time of criticism, and he always looked everything from a different angle. So he criticized art, culture, music, drama, and even the life, right? So he was we could say that D.P. Mukherjee was a blend of Anglo-Bengali culture. D.P. Mukherjee was a man of aesthetic sensibilities. D.P. Mukherjee became a director of information when Congress assumed office in UP. His influence brought a spirit of an intellectual approach to public relations. He was also a part of foundation of Bureau of Economics and Statistics. So he was the one. He was one of those who founded the Bureau of Economics and Statistics. He returned to Lucknow in 1339 to Lucknow University. Right, and the first he opted a lecturership in Lucknow University in Department of Economics and Sociology, and then he became the Director of Information in UP. Then he was the one who founded the Bureau of Economics and Statistics, and in 1939 he returned to the Lucknow University. Right. In 1947, he was appointed as a member of UP Labour Enquiry Committee. It was in 1951 he was made a professor. He was a founder member of Indian Sociological Association and one of the members of its managing committee and its editorial board. He also represented the Association of International Sociological Association, of which he became the vice president. So he held many of the position during his lifetime. Right, he wrote several books and articles in diverse fields. After independence, he watched political movements with great interest, but was not a politician in any sense because he was interested in political movement and he after independence he watched that every political movement with great interest but was never directly involved in any politics in his lifetime. Let us discuss the central ideas of D.P. Mukherjee. Marxism, according to D.P. Mukherjee, helped one to understand the historical development well, but it could not offer a satisfactory solutions to human problems. As we know that Marx studied the history that how one society evolved from the another society through the through dialectical process. So he was D.P. Mukherjee was influenced by the dialectism of Karl Marx, and according to D.P. Mukherjee, this dialectism or Marxism helped to understand the historical development of this society, but this dialectism could not provide a satisfactory solutions to the human problems. There are many other problems. This could not provide the satisfactory solution for the human problems as per D.P. Mukherjee. That solution was to be found in the regeneration and reinterpretation of India's national culture. So if according to D.P. Mukherjee, if one wants to find out the solutions of many human problems, it is very important to regenerate and reinterpret the India's national culture. Then only one can find out the solutions of many problems. He was opposed to the positivism of the modern social sciences, which reduced individuals into biological or psychological units. Positivist, right? Durkheim, right? Durkheim was a positivist. Positivists were those who are the functionalists, those who felt like everything happens for our good, right? That they have given much, and positivist has given emphasis and paid most of the importance to the collectivism rather than the individualism. But D.P. Mukherjee was of the opposite opposite to was this. He opposes that positivism, right? According to D.P. Mukherjee, this positivism reduced the individuals into biological or the psychological units because the positivists give much importance to collectivism than the individualism. So D.P. Mukherjee was of the opinion that this positivism reduced the individuals into biological or the psychological unit rather than the individual. The industrial culture of the West had turned individuals into self-seeking agents. The society in the West had become ethnocentric. Right? Then again, we know with the development of the science and with the progress of the industrial process and industrialization, that collectivism has lost its way, and it has taken by the individualism, and this industrial culture has given a way to the individualism, and the individual becomes self-centered and the society in the west become the ethnocentric. By emphasizing individualization, that is recognition of role and rights of individual, positivism has uprooted the social anchors of humanity. Roles of tradition in Indian society. What are the roles of traditions? The individuals drew their nourishment from tradition, right? They did not lose a sense of purpose or direction, but tradition often become a dead weight, as in India. Traditions are important, but at times it becomes a dead weight, and people made fetish of it, and then they idealized and worshipped it. Culture stagnation was bound to result on account of people uncritical attitude towards it. As per DP Mukherjee, that traditions are important. Individuals drew their nourishment from tradition, but at times this tradition become the dead weight, and because of this, individual become fetish, and this cultural stagnation, right? Well, it was bound to result on the account of people's because why it becomes dead weight, and why people become fetish because of the uncritical attitude of people towards the culture, right? So individuation must also be encouraged, and the individual can recreate culture by infusing it with a new vigor, and the individual is to be neither totally free nor unfree. See, there are 2 point of view. The first is that collectivism, and that second was of individualism, right? Few According to few sociologists, collectivism is important, that society is more important than the individuals. Then there is a set of sociologists and anthropologists, according to them, that individualism is important, but Dhurjati Prasad Mukerji is of the opinion that both are important, right? At times, that as per the Dhurjati Prasad Mukerji, that traditions are important, they provide that nourishment to the society, but at times this tradition become a dead weight, and because of this dead weight, the people of the society become fetish. Because why they become fetish? Because of the uncritical, because of their uncritical behavior. So as per the Jyoti Prasad Mukherjee, it is very important that individualization must be encouraged. When individualization have been encouraged, the people become critical, right? And when they become when this individualization, because of this individualization, the individual can recreate and regenerate the culture by infusing it with new vigor. Then it will not become a dead weight, it will not be a stagnant, and the individual is to be, and as per DP Mukherjee, that individual neither should be totally free nor unfree. There should be the check and balances on the individual. And for the evolution of healthy personality, there must be a balance between the individualization and the association. Association is bond of individual with the society. So as per DP Mukherjee was of the point of view that both are important, that individuation as well as association. There should be the check and balance between the individuation and the association, right? Individuals' freedom must not be anarchy, but a creative expression of a tradition with check and balance, right? You can maintain the individuation and social association. If there will be no check and balance, then individual freedom will become anarchy rather than becoming a creative expression of tradition. As per DP Mukherjee, that individuation should be a creative expression of tradition rather than the anarchy, right? Integrated development of the personality, right? According to DP Mukherjee, there should be a integrated development of the personality. What should be the personality of an individual? Mukherjee did not commented to the to Indians the positivistic construction of personality. The Western personality made a fetish of achievements. Science and technology has been enhanced to a great improvement in living condition of masses. The capacity of human being to control nature and use to their advantage are notable achievement in modern age. The Western approach could not lead to an integrated development, right? And for an integrated development of the personality, there was a need a balance between the technological development and the human freedom, right? As per DP Mukherjee, that the through westernization or through Western approach, we cannot we cannot develop a holistic personality, or this Western culture could not lead to an integrated development of the personality, right? To be, as per DP Mukherjee, to for an integrated development of personality, there needs to be a balance between the technological development as well as human freedom. Both are important. That technological development is even important and human freedom is important. And according to DP Mukherjee, this Western culture or Western way of development or Western approach cannot lead to an holistic development of the individual. Even the socialist societies such as Soviet Russia evolved this personality. The individual have been dominated by the state or the political party. So as per Mukherjee, neither the Western countries nor the Soviet Russia would be able to develop. The both Western culture and the Soviet Russia both failed to evolve a balanced personalities. Right? D.P. Mukherjee's dialectism was rooted into humanism, which cut across narrow ethnic or national consideration. In the West, the individual had become either aggressive or docile, right? In the West, there were of the two opinion that the individual either become docile or aggressive. But according to D.P. Mukherjee, right, according to D.P. Mukherjee, dialectism, that it was rooted in humanism, right, which cut across narrow ethnic or national considerations, right? The Western progress was devoid of humanism. The Renaissance and the Industrial Revolution had freed the individual from the grip of Mendeleev tradition, but at the same time reduced the humanist content of progress. The modern nationalism is essentially nurtured in the positivistic aspect of the West. It could not be an appropriate model for an India. So, as per D.P. Mukherjee, that the Western model of development of an individual or the society could not be an appropriate model for India, right? And the Indian middle class were a product of Western impact of India. They were uprooted from their indigenous traditions. Actually, we know that industrialization is responsible for the growth of the middle class, right? Because of the industrialization, this middle class grew up, right? So, as per DP Mukherjee, that Western model of society could not be appropriate model for India, right? And that middle class, which is a result of the industrialization, middle class of India, which is a result of the industrialization, had lost its contact with the masses. India could become a modern nation if the middle class re-established their links with the masses. Only then genuine development was possible, right? So, as per DP Mukherjee, humanism is important, individuation and association both are important, right? But there should be check and balance between the two, and that because of industrialization, this middle class has creeped up and middle class has lost its contact with the masses. And for the holistic development of the India, or for India to become a modern country or a modern society, it is very important that middle class should re-establish their links with the nation or with the masses. Then only genuine development of the country was possible, as per DP Mukherjee, right? For DP Mukherjee, growth was a mere quantitative achievement. Development was a qualitative term denoting value-based progress. So, see, D.P. Mukherjee said that growth is mere a quantitative term. You can quantify the growth, right? You can number that the how much the country or an individual has progressed over a period of time. But development is a qualitative process, and one can develop, right? How it is a qualitative term? It is a qualitative term in denoting the value-based progress. When you are developing on a value-based, when you are progressing on the basis of your values, then that is actually a development, right? So it's a qualitative term, while growth is a quantitative term, right? D.P. Mukherjee's view on unity and diversity. D.P. Mukherjee was involved in depicting Hindu-Muslim relations. His search for truth led him to discover humanistic and spiritual unity in diversities of Indian culture. So he tried to understand, as we know, that India is a country of diversity, right? But still, although the society is diverse, Indian society is diverse, but still there is a unity in Indian society, right? So D.P. Mukherjee was involved in depicting the Hindu-Muslim relations. So he tried to understand the Hindu-Muslim relations in Indian society. So for this, he tried to discover the humanistic and spiritual unity in diversity of Indian culture. How that is there any unity? Is there any spiritual or humanistic unity in Indian culture? Right? He was examining many of the areas with the broad framework of Hindu-Muslim interaction. There were three areas of interaction which were words of note. First is political, right? So he tried to understand the unity of Hindu Muslim on many variables, on the basis of many variables, or on the basis of many aspects. But the three main variables or aspects on which he tried to understand the unity and diversity of Hindu and Muslims, that is, first is politically. Is there any unity on the basis of the politics, right? So the Islamic king ruled over Hindu subject from 11th to 17th century AD. We know that about, we read about the Mughal empires, right? They ruled Hindu subjects from 7th to 11th, from 11th to 17th century AD, right, in North India. At the same time, there were established alliance between the Muslim rulers and the Hindu rajas. There was a sense of partnership between the Muslim rulers and Hindu subjects. This was more evident during the Mughal rule, right? So politically there was a connection between the Mughal empire, Mughal emperors and the Hindu rajas, and there was a partnership between the Muslim rulers and the Hindu subjects. We read about in history. We read about the Jagirdari Pratha, right? There was how the Mughal Empire ruled, and they were there was association between the Hindu rajas and the Mughal Empire, right? Then he tried to understand it on the basis of economic relations. During Islamic rule, while the Jagirdars were Muslim, most of the Jamindars were Hindus. Right? These two groups shared many interests in common. Thus, together, these two classes formed an alliance. Right? Jagirdari Pratha and the Zamindari. We read about the Jagirdari and Zamindari. Right? Although during Islamic rule, most of the Jagirdars were Muslims, but Zamindars were Hindus, and there was an association between Jagirdar and Zamindar. They share some common interest, and thus they form an alliance. And culturally, in literature, music, customs, cultivation of fine arts, etc. Most prestigious Padma Bhushan and numerous other medals and awards. So he was awarded with the Padma Bhushan. He received Padma Bhushan. Central ideas of Warrior Elwin. Warrior Elwin is known for his extensive study of tribes, right? Some of the main writings are focused on the tribal life and the identity. His approach and method of research have inspired many anthropologists and sociologists. So his main area of research was tribes, right? In 1932, Alvin moved away from the politics towards the social work and anthropology after he went to live among the gods. But that he came to India on the condition that he will not involve himself in the politics, Indian politics. So in 1910, that he moved away from the politics and involved himself into the social work, and he chose that the Gond tribe to be with. He married to a Gond girl in 1940, but they divorced each other in 1949. Alvin spent a major part of his life among the people he wrote about, the tribal communities in central and the northeast India. His first ethnographies on the Baiga and the Agaria dealt with his own neighborhood, since both communities were closely connected to the Mandala Gonds. So he studied about the Baiga and the Agaria, right? And both the communities are closely associated with the Mandala Gonds. Alvin believed in the cultural autonomy of tribal life, right, and value system, which is a unique civilization order according to its terms and references. So as per the Elvin, that these tribes should have cultural autonomy and a value system. He was in favor of the cultural autonomy and the value system of the tribes, right? And uh, that it is they should get the autonomy, right? And Elvin's first work of ethnography, the Baiga, published in 1939, reflected this perspective of tribal life, which emphasized the unique collective identity. And see, we all know that in tribes there is a sense of collectivism, right? And his first ethnography on the Bega, which was published in 1939. This reflects the perspective of tribal life, which emphasized on the collectivism, use collective, unique collective identity that because tribes are like these simple societies, right? And they are bonded with each other, or the type of solidarity is because of their collectivism, right? So this shows the unique collective identity. The work on the Bega shows the unique collective identity among the Begas, right? This work was a massive monograph about the tribe whose economy was ruined by the expropriate of their natural resources and livelihood by the state, and who had been forced to adopt cultivation which was not preferred by them. So he very specifically wrote this was a monograph, right, which describes the economy, how the economy of these tribes have been ruined by the state, and how they were forced to opt for the cultivation which these tribes don't prefer, right? Issues of tribal identity. The controversial position that Elvin occupies among Indian intellectuals and the political activists are well known. Some of them severely condemned his work and standpoint on the tribal question with reference to identity. Elvin could also gather many admirers for his work, right? As we know that he always supported, that he always raised his voice in favor of the tribes. So he was condemned by many of the sociologists and the intellectualists, although there are many admirers for his work, right? In 1954, he was deputed in the Northeast by the government of the India, right, as an advisor on the tribal affair, right? Alvin continued to write and draft the policy document with the view to protect the interest of the tribal communities. He always tried to protect the interest of the tribal communities. So he drafted the policies to protect the interest of the tribal communities. During his tenure in Northeast region, Alvin's two books entitled A Philosophy of Nefa 1957, published in 1957, and A New Idea for Tribal India received a wide attention among reading public. So two books, that is a philosophy of NEFA and a New Deal of for Tribal India, very important, right? The identity of tribal community can be production from within the community, that is internal to group and self-image, or can be imposition from outside, which is external to group, right? So right so the identity of any tribal group could be from within the community or can be from the external influences, right? The idea about tribe that reflects in the names of the different tribal communities as well as the generic name like aborigines, adivasis, scheduled tribes, and some of such proportion either imposed by the outsider or created by the tribal people themselves. So these names are either imposed on the groups or created by the tribal people themselves. Identity based movement among tribal communities in India have been a subject of discussion during the colonial period onwards, right? We discussed about the tribal struggle in our previous lectures. So it was a point of discussion, it was a subject, this tribal that is identity movements, tribal movements, right? These were a point or the subject of discussion even during the colonial periods, right? The survey conducted by the Anthropological Survey of India identified a number of movements in central and eastern India, the most important of them being a movement for the formation of the Jharkhand state, right? And there were social movements among the Kurmi and other tribe communities in Chota Nagpur seeking towards an autonomous tribal status, right? So identity there that it was common, right? That is identity based movements were common, right? One of the movements like for the the movement was for the formation of the Jharkhand state. Then social movement among the Kurmis and other tribal communities of Chota Nagpur, they demanded for the autonomous tribal status. There were also movements in the western Bhagat movement among the Bhils and many agrarian movement among the different tribal groups as well as political movement for the autonomy. They always struggled for their autonomy. They always raised their voice for the